Hi, everybody. Today we have Leah Carroll with us. Leah is an ADHD life and mindset coach who helps adults with ADHD feel more in control and less like they're constantly running on chaos and caffeine. With lived experience and years of coaching under her belt, she supports fellow ADHDers in building systems, habits, mindsets that actually work for their unique brains, not just what looks good on paper. She's worked with hundreds of clients to untangle shame, reduce overwhelm, and create meaningful routines that feel doable, even on the messy days. Leah's approach is honest, encouraging, and rooted in the belief that ADHD isn't your fault. But once you know about it, you do get to decide, how do you show up for yourself? Hi, Leah. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I am doing well. I love your description because I'm like, yep, I like that. I do that. Yep, that's good.
Yeah. Ticks a lot of boxes. Like, yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah. That makes sense. Yep. That's
Yeah,
on brand.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So you and I are both ADHD life coaches, which is really exciting. In my previous life, I was an educator for 30 years. So has this been your lifelong thing to be a coach?
No, no, it has not. Definitely did not see myself ever kind of in this role. Where did I start out? I was telling somebody this story the other day. In college, a friend of mine had a job at a newspaper selling advertising. And she was leaving the position and she was like, "Why don't you just come in and take over?" Her name was also Leah. So it was like, "Leah, replace Leah." It was great. So I was like, "Yeah, advertising sales for a newspaper while I'm in college." It was the college newspaper, but it sounded very profesh. And I was like, "Ooh, I love this." So I went in, had the interview, I got hired, blah, blah, blah. And that kind of led me down this road of advertising sales for publications. Because I had that experience in college, which again was nothing that I really sought out, it just kind of happened. My major in college was communications, whatever that means, which I'm very glad that I went and that I have that piece of paper. But at the time, I mean, ADHD was rampant and it, didn't really care. It was like, whatever, just like, give me a piece of paper, I'll figure it out. You know how it goes. So that kind of fell into my lap. And then once I graduated, I moved to Cincinnati. There was an opening for advertising sales at, the newspaper there, and so I thought, "Okay, yeah, why not?" That's kind of a transition. I'm not really great at it. It's not my favorite thing, but it's on my resume. So I got hired there, and then that was a whole kerfuffle. It lasted about 6 months, and then I was no longer employed there, partially due to my own shenanigans and partially due to, they cut this was back in 2008. So digital was just kind of up and coming and they hired a whole big digital team. And then they were like, "Ugh, maybe we've jumped the gun. Nobody understands this digital thing." And so we got let go and yada, yada, yada. But I continued down that path of like corporate sales, marketing, advertising for a long time. I was diagnosed with ADHD when I think I was about 28, something like that. I was living in Nashville at the time. I was working from home. I was like one of the first remote jobs back in the day. And I didn't really take it seriously. I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. Like, shocker, I have ADHD. We all need this. This is no surprise. Just give me some meds and let's see how we can crack on. So I got the meds and meds did not really work for me in the fact that I'm really sensitive to them. So sleep became more of a nightmare than it already was. And the come downs for me were really difficult. So then I was like, well, okay. Anyway, went off the meds and was just like, well, this is who I am and this is how things are. And there's not really anything I can do about it. I tried. So take it or leave it kind of situation. I really didn't think that I had much control over what was going on. And so, yeah, it just kind of wafted about being a bit of a hot mess express and it was just kind of like, sorry. I took it as this, not so much like, oh, this is something I can fix. It was like, this is my personality. And you either like me or you don't. And that was not fair to myself. It was not fair to a lot of people to be like, I'm just late. Sorry, it's who I am. It was, like, pretty shitty, right? Felt not great to me, not great to the people that I was, leaving in the lurch, all that kinda stuff. Hit a pretty decent burnout with life, ended up kind of blowing up everything, quit my job, ended my relationship, left all my belongings, and went backpacking at the ripe old age of 32. So everybody was like, "You've lost your mind." And I'm like, "This is not a surprise. We're not shocked here." So yeah, I just went to Europe and India and Australia and all over the shop off and on for about 3 years, from 2016 to about 2019. And it was great. I didn't have the responsibilities, and everybody that you meet traveling in that way is, not everybody. I take that back. A lot of people you meet are neurodivergent within that traveling space. So it just kind of felt like, these are my people. It's great. And then, yeah, exactly. And then, kind of went through all of that. Life hit. I settled in Germany. My husband is German. So we live here, settled here. And then it was like, you got to start doing something with yourself. And that's when I really was like, all right, we got to start taking a look at what's actually going on, what's derailing you, what are the things that keep showing up? Do I actually have control over this? Can I do anything about this? I had gone to yoga school in India at that time, and so I had gotten a little bit more spiritual and mindful, and there was kind of those practices that were coming into play that I think did really help. Okay, let's take a look at yourself and not just, this is what it is. Can't help it. So yeah, so I was telling you before we started recording that I did a health coaching course that kind of fit with yoga at the time, and then that space started to feel a bit ick. There was a bit of like, just make me skinny, and I was like, duh, I am very much out of my depth. I don't know how to do this. This is weird. I feel like I need a full on degree in
Personal
medicine.
training.
And yeah, exactly. I need to be like a dietitian. So went into general life coaching and loved it. I've always loved chatting with people. I mean, that was one of my hallmark ADHD back in the day when they look at your report cards. A
Yeah,
pleasure to have in class if she would sit down and shut up.
we are kindred spirits, Leah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it was a lot of that. So I was like, oh, I get to talk to people. And my mom, bless her heart, she always told me, she was like, "You need to be a life coach." Not that she thought I had my life together, but I think she realized how much I love chatting with people. I love kind of that side of things, helping people understand what's going on for them. Sorry, I've got my little fidget toy over here so you can see my hands on the bottom.
Perfect.
So, yeah, once I started life coaching, I really found that the neurodivergent population, specifically my ADHDers, were the most fun to talk to. They were the most interested in getting help and support, and I felt like at that point, I had gone on a bit of a journey with my own ADHD, like I said, lived experience and hyperfocus, that I'd put together some systems to help people, unravel what was going on for them. As we know, ADHD is a spectrum, so you can't kind of show up and help everybody in the same way, but as a coach yourself, you know that you do see a lot of the same struggles kind of over and over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know about you, but oftentimes when people come to coaching, they think they're coming for one reason, and then you get about 3 sessions in, and then it really starts to come out what's going on, and they're like, "I thought I was here to get organized, and now I'm realizing I'm here for self-worth and that kind of work." So,
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And I think too, a lot of people, I mean, especially now with like Instagram and TikTok and that kind of stuff, people think that they know what ADHD is and how it affects them. But I've talked to so many people that just putting language to things, time blindness,
mhm.
that I think people are like, what? That's a thing? Like, yeah, you're not crazy. Maybe you are a little bit, but it is a thing.
It is a
I
thing.
think that side of things, helping people realize that I thought it was just me. I thought that I was kind of on this island where everybody else has their stuff together. Everybody else is adulting way better than I am. Why can't I get it together?
Yeah.
That's what I
I remember sitting there and being like, "Why? Why? Why is it so much easier for everybody else? Why do I have to work like 3 times as hard as everybody else?" I wasn't 50 when I was diagnosed. I was getting ready to retire, and I still think that, my ADHD had something to do with the fact that I had to retire early. It was just I was so overwhelmed. I was so burnt out. I was in a central office administration position. And I look back at my career now and I think I probably would have made it years longer had I known everything I know now. But we don't know what we don't know. And
Exactly,
knowledge is
and,
power.
you being in that position when did you retire?
3 years ago?
Okay, so, I mean, I have so much empathy for everyone within the education system at that time because you made it through COVID, and that was an absolute dumpster fire for so many people involved in that, the teachers, the administrators, the students, anybody that was in the educational space at that point. I know so many friends, I'm 40, that are my age, and they were like, "I have to get out. I can't do this. I can't do it."
Mhm.
So, I hope that you've given yourself grace for that to be like, "Yeah, maybe I could have lasted a little bit longer, but being what I went through in those last few years, it probably added 10 years to your mental career."
Yeah, and, like, I was he COVID was very hard on educators, you're right, and, I had physicians, I had family, I had everybody just telling me, "You need to get out, you need to get out." And so I ended up here, ADHD coaching, and then went even further with a podcast. I was like, I never had a podcast on my mind, but I
Yeah,
love to talk to people just like you. And so that's how, I ended up doing it. I have an excuse to have great conversations with people like all the time.
I know, it's so great, it's so great. I love it. That's my husband always jokes with me, he's like, "Yeah, of course you love your job. You just get to talk to people all day." And I'm like, "Yeah, I know, it's great." And not only do I get to talk to people, but hopefully I get to help them and support them and, let them see that there is a different way and they have more control than they've been led to believe, and there are things that they can do. They can't do it all at once,
Mm,
but there are things that can be done to make things easier.
Let's talk about that. You can't do it all at once.
Yeah.
That
So
idea that it's like we're going to fix everything right now.
Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. I think there was a movie that was, and I've heard that that movie had to do with ADHD.
Really,
Um,
I've not seen it.
yeah, I think I started it on a plane and fell asleep, so I haven't fully seen it, but I have heard that has to do with, some neurodivergence. But anyway, I think a lot of people, and you probably see this within your coaching practice as well, they come to you and they want silver bullet. And people do that with meds as well. And I don't mean to hate on meds. I don't really talk about meds very often. Meds are life changing for a lot of people. Uh,
They were for me.
yeah,
Absolutely.
exactly. And so there is 1000% a place for meds. But pills don't teach skills.
No, they do not.
And so while they will help with a certain aspect of your ADHD, they will not help with all of it. And taking a pill is not going to cure your ADHD. We're not here to cure anything, and we're not here to completely eradicate your ADHD. It's not possible. So I talk about kind of an 80-20. 80% of the time, we're going to try to have our stuff together and things are, rolling through. 20% of the time, chaos, dumpster fire, shit show. Like, that's kind of once we get going,
I
that's
mean, I
kind of
think
what.
it's a pretty decent ratio. Like, if I think of myself as a very successful person, and when I think about that, I would say, yeah, about 20% of the time, my life is still kind of, chaos.
Yeah, and I think if you can expect that, so that's what I talk to people about a lot of, like, setting expectations of, we're just trying to reduce the ADHD symptoms. We're not trying to eliminate them because we can't. And so if we look at it with that in mind and set that expectation of, there is no getting rid of this. There will be, dropped balls and, missed appointments and things will fall through the cracks. We just want to reduce it. So if you're at 80% of the time that's happening now, we want to slowly take that down to 75, 70, 65, 60, that kind of thing. But I think a lot of people, and this is just ADHD in general, like, we've all been there. We're like, "Right, I'm downloading a new app. I got a new planner. I got a new notebook. I got a new water mug that has the times on it, so I'm gonna drink enough water." And you try to do
Check,
all of it.
check, check, check,
Yeah,
check.
you try to, implement all of these new things in a weekend,
Mhm.
and then by Wednesday you're like, "Oh god, I can't do it." Or one of them falls off and we go into that all or nothing. "Well, that's it. I tried. It's all gone to hell. I'm not gonna try to do any of it anymore." Or, "All right, it's Wednesday. I forgot to write that in my planner. Okay, screw it. I'll just start again on Monday."
Mm,
And you waste those, instead of, "I'll start again Wednesday afternoon," I'm gonna wait a whole, push it off until Monday.
yeah.
So, I think that's what really shows up, kind of that trying to do everything everywhere all at once, versus when I talk to people, it's like, "All right, what do you really want to focus on this week, the next 7 days?" That's it, and it can be 2 at the absolute most. It cannot be more than that, and people were like, "But that seems, like, really small, and it's not enough. I need to make more progress." And I'm like, "How has that been working out for you?"
Yeah, really. Exactly.
Right? And so, if we can build those foundations really intentionally, we kind of our focus is everywhere. We don't necessarily struggle with focus, but it's focusing on one thing at a time unless hyperfocus comes into the mix, and then we're good. Depending on what that is, if that's like Pokemon cards from 1992, not a super helpful hyperfocus for a lot of us.
Right.
But yeah, just really kind of looking at, how do I want to start structuring my days? What's one thing? And it can be like, put your keys on the hook. It's all you're going to focus on. You keep losing your keys. All right. That's all you're going to focus on for the next week. Every time you walk in the door, keys on the hook, keys on the hook. You're gonna set an alarm on your phone 4 times a day of when you typically walk through the door, keys on the hook. When you leave the house, you're gonna say, you know, "Hey Siri," or "Hey Google," or "Hey whoever, can you remind me in 35 minutes to hang the keys up?" Like, just these little things, and then before you know it, that's foundational now, and then we can build on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's too easy to get discouraged if you're trying to do everything all at once. And the reduction of those overwhelms reminds me of a activity I do where I'll list like I don't know how many overwhelms there are, just things that overwhelm people in general. And each person has 3 cups, and one's a low level, medium level, and high level. So as we talk about, is that a low level overwhelm or an overwhelm, like, and what are the levels? And then how do we take and move those marbles from the high level to the medium and from the medium to the low and from the low out, right? We're not going to eliminate those high levels right away, but we can start reducing them.
Yep. Love that.
So it's
Yeah,
absolutely the same thing. It's very heavy at first, but how do we bring them down? But you still have a cup full of marbles at the end. It's just not as heavy.
exactly. And I think you're right. A lot of people try to take it from heavy to non-existent without those middle steps of neuroplasticity and rewiring the brain to put the keys on the hook. And I think people are like, "But that's so easy. It's so stupid."
But
Well, it's
the
learning
keys
a
are
new skill. It's
And it's the keys on the hook aren't just teaching you the keys on the hook. And this is what I always tell people. When you come to coaching with me, you're going to bring me a problem. It may be something as simple as you can't find your keys most of the time, right? But in solving that problem, you're going to learn a new way of thinking. You're going to learn the questions that you need to ask yourself, what you do when you reach an obstacle, how to get around it, over it, under it, whatever you need to do. By the time we get done, yeah, you'll be able to find your keys, but more importantly, you'll be able to figure out how to deal with those obstacles when they get in your way.
right, how to navigate them. Yeah, I talk about that in a similar way as far as when we look at these problems that come up, we'll stick with the keys because that's where we are. I keep losing my keys. First of all, you've gotta be aware. Okay, that's something that keeps derailing me and keeps messing me up. All right, the keys. All right, and then ask yourself, am I in control of that? There are some things, you've got kids, you got whatever. Maybe you're not in control of all the things. You're co-parenting, whatever. Okay, yes, the keys. I actually am in control of that. Doesn't quite feel like it all the time, but I am. Okay, now that I've crossed that off, I'm in control of it. What would the solution be? The solution would be to hang them on the hook. I know that. All right, so now I know I am in control and there is a solution. How do I bridge that and start with the implementation? because it's the implementation of all of these things. And yeah, oh, okay. Every time I do it, high five, I cheer, I take a picture and send it to my coach. Whatever to reinforce that, oh my gosh, that feels so good. And then when you go to leave the house and your keys are where you need them to be, I want you to take 3 seconds and be like, yes, this feels so great. Feels so
Yeah,
great. And then, yeah, you start being able to kind of decipher what's in my control. What would a solution look like that you can kind of implement? And then we got to work on the implementation side of things.
absolutely. And so the skill that you're teaching isn't finding your keys. The skill you're teaching is how to build a habit.
Exactly. And that's what you were talking about in the beginning of people come to us thinking that they need one thing. It's not only how to build a habit, it's how to be self-aware, how to ask yourself some questions through curiosity instead of judgment. So instead of, "Oh, you're such an idiot. Here you go again with the keys." It's, "Okay, wait, what happened? How did I get here again?" And that's a hard skill to learn as well when we've been beating ourselves up for 40 years.
Well, and that's exactly how we get there is because we start working with the keys and then we realize this isn't about I mean, yeah, we want to be able to find our keys, but also in the process we're going to learn how to love ourselves and give ourselves a little bit of grace about the keys and like you said, not beat the crap out of ourselves forever because we can't find our keys. You didn't find your keys? Okay. You know, learning to forgive yourself is huge.
And just be curious. What happened?
Girl,
What?
you are so talking my language. My life, I always say I approach everything with curiosity. I decided to give up fear and anger.
Yeah,
I
nice.
just gave that up and I now use curiosity instead.
Yeah. I think I'm probably I don't get so angry anymore. Again, for me, it's really about that 80/20. 80% of the time I have given up those or maybe it's the opposite, like, fear doesn't really seem to come into my sphere very often, which I'm very grateful for. She's still here. She's well and alive as well. Not as much as she used to be, but yeah, I love that, just kind of giving that up and being a bit more curious about what just happened and catching yourself when you're beating yourself up. "Oh, you're
Mhm.
such an idiot. I can't believe you did it again." I mean, I literally have these conversations with myself when because it still happens. That is an ingrained habit for
Yeah.
ages. Be like and I'll have to stop and be like, "Whoa, we do not do that. We do not." It's almost like a reparenting, like I'm reparenting the 7-year-old inside of me that's calling myself an idiot, and I'm having to be like, "Well, we don't talk to ourselves like that. That is unkind, and it's not useful. It's not helpful. You forgot your keys because you were in a hurry. It's alright. Shit happens. Let's move on." Yeah.
Well, and when you say the 7-year-old, that is inside of you, the reason we for most people or a lot of people who are neurodivergent, we beat up on ourselves so much is we were conditioned to do so. We started doing that very young when we were being criticized for our behavior oftentimes. Like, for me, it was I talked in class all the time. So if I would get in trouble for talking in class, I would beat the living crap out of myself. I'd be like, God, why are you talking? You keep yourself quiet, and it's like it's a conditioned thing. And I thought everybody did that.
Yeah. And I think, to be fair, I think a lot of people do. I mean, I
Sure.
think a lot of people do beat themselves up because we think it's motivating. If I'm mean enough to myself, I won't forget the keys again. But again, how's that been working out for you? If
Precisely.
being mean to ourselves would have worked, it would have worked by now because we've been
Yeah.
doing it for so long.
And we're so good at it.
And we're really good at it. And it still doesn't work. And so that's where, again, kind of looking at those patterns that keep showing up in actions, in thoughts, and all of that kind of stuff can really come into play. And having the awareness around that can make really, I mean, awareness, in my opinion, is that first step to transformation. You have to be aware of
Absolutely.
what's going on and what are the changes that you want to make. You have to know what they are in order to make them. Now, we don't need to know everything, but we got to have some places to start. We have to have a path to be able to kind of go down and figure out some things.
I'm curious. I was reading something recently about setting goals and how sometimes setting goals can be bad because of the fact that it kind of causes blinders, side blinders. And so we miss opportunities if we set a goal and then that is our goal and we're not flexible with our goal, we miss opportunities that may better serve us.
Yeah, I could see that. So I have always struggled to set goals. And I think, again, that comes from setting them and not hitting them and
Mhm.
then feeling like crap. And then, so I've gotten to this point where I'm like, I don't set goals. Me and goals are not friends. And I still kind of feel that way. I think that I'm developing a better relationship with goals. And I think that I mean, not to say that I'm, whatever, but I have been doing this work for a while. And so I've been on this path. And I do think that goal setting can be a little bit further in the journey, a little bit more of an advanced technique, if you will. And I'm still not there. I still don't set goals. They still freak me out. I am a big proponent of experiments. So we're going to set the experiment that you're going to, do X, Y, D, or think that, whatever it is, instead of, all right, your goal for the week. Saying that out loud, I'm like, "Ugh, ugh," like, I have, like, a visceral, like, "Ugh, gr" so and I see your point of, like, this is the goal, blinders on, nothing else, and I think sometimes that can maybe be a good thing, but I know for me personally, it freaks me out. It triggers demand avoidance, for sure. I think there is this whole, like, "No, I'm not gonna do it." I think it triggers all or nothing. Well, I'm training for that marathon and I missed today, so it's out the window, I guess. I should probably just stop.
And I'm not anti-goal, but I really have been thinking a lot about, whether goal setting is as imperative as maybe we have thought it was. Having direction, absolutely, but if you it, I still see that, like you become so focused on that goal that you miss everything else around you,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, to kind of take that and then run with it, hashtag ADHD. It kinda sounds like boundaries as well, right? So, like, people are like, "You have to have boundaries," but I'm also a big proponent of flexible boundaries. There are times where, okay, I don't really feel like doing this thing, and I should probably say no, but my friend is really struggling. So I'm gonna be a little bit flexible on that boundary and, go meet them for this or do this for them or whatever. When under normal circumstances, I would probably be like, "You know what? I don't have the capacity or whatever. That's a boundary I need to set." And I think goals can kind of be the same way as far as I'm a big proponent of ish. So we've got goals ish. We've
That's
got routine ish. We've got plans ish.
I like that. I
Yeah,
like that a lot. Although our ADHD folks have a hard time living in the gray area.
100%.
Once you
And
can
that's why
accept the
I've
itch.
yeah, I preach it. I preach the ish of like the rigidity is going to 9 times out of 10 backfire and snap, right? If something's so rigid, you think of like a dry piece of spaghetti. Versus if you can be a little bit more like water. And I get that this is a slippery slope because a lot of
Oh,
us are
yeah.
like, my entire life just kind of flipping, flopping around.
Exactly, I'm a chameleon. What do you
Yeah,
want from me?
exactly, exactly. But I also think that really looking at, in that same kind of vein, I think, is persistence over consistency. We hear this like consistency is the key to success. You have to do the same, consistent, 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 consistent. It's like, I am not a consistent person. And me trying to drill consistency for me is square peg, round hole. But I can be persistent. I can keep showing up day after day, week after week. It's just going to look a little bit different. And if I have this, like, I
Yeah.
have to work out at 8 a.m., you know, 4 days a week, whatever. Well, say I missed that 8 a.m. window. I've got a window at 3, but nope. I said it was 8. So we're out. We're not doing it. We're skipping the whole day, all or nothing. Perfectionism kind of sneaks in. Whereas if you can have a little bit more of that flexibility of like, damn, I really would have liked to get that done first thing in the morning because I feel better and blah, 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 blah. But today wasn't the day for whatever reason. I do have that quick 30-minute break or, I've got an hour so I can fit in that 30-minute, workout or whatever it is. Right. So having a little bit of that flexibility, in my opinion, gives us so much more freedom and space and room to breathe and less opportunities to beat ourselves up.
Exactly. Exactly. I love it. Well, I can't believe it, but we have been talking already for half an hour.
That's about right.
It's amazing. I want to give one more question. And that question is you brought up your little 7-year-old. What advice would you give your little 7-year-old now?
But that's so interesting. The advice I would give 7-year-old me is like, keep talking, keep doing the things, like keep having fun. So we're watching Handmaid's Tale at the moment. So I feel like it's a little bit of like, I know it's too much, but I do feel like I'd be like, don't let the bastards keep you down kind of situation as far as like this whole kind of beating us down. And why can't you just get it together? Why can't you remember your homework, your book bag, to not talk in class? Like, you know, all of those things. I think I would tell her, like, you're okay. You're safe. You're a good person. There's no morality tied to being a chatterbox. It doesn't make you a bad person because you will talk to a brick wall. You're okay. I think that's what I would tell her at this point.
That sounds like good advice.
Yeah.
Well, Leah, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate our conversation. I thought it was wonderful.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so nice. I mean, you know how it goes. I love to get on here and chit chat. Great.
Absolutely. I mean, what could be
Yeah,
better? We just get to sit.
exactly.
Well, thank you again. And for my butterflies on the wall who listen in on my conversations, I'm hoping that they'll subscribe and like and do all those things. And with that, we'll see you next time.
See ya.